President of the United States needs political distractions, it seems, to turn our gaze away from his criminal cabal. That's the view of former U.S. Ambassador to South Africa, Patrick Gaspard, who tweeted a response to President Donald Trump's earlier Twitter remarks, now removed. Trump's tweet states that he'd asked his Secretary of State to closely study, in his words, South Africa's land and farm seizures, expropriations, and the large-scale killings of farmers. That's what he said. Let's take a listen.
South Africa's Department of International Relations was quick to repudiate President Trump's tweet, pointing out that it was based on false information, a reference to the Fox investigative report that prompted the President of the United States to tweet about it in the first place. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to closely study the issue of land expropriation and the large-scale killing of farmers in South Africa. This despite Fox, in their reporting, quoting the State Department, informing them that the country was engaged in the difficult issue of land reform through an open democratic process, citing the government's own response that it would happen within the ambit of the rule of law.
Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa has begun, and you may have seen this in the press, seizing land from his own citizens without compensation because they are the wrong skin color. That is literally the definition of racism. Ramaphosa is one of Barack Obama's favorite leaders in the world. In a speech just a few weeks ago, Obama praised him. He praised the racist government of South Africa and Ramaphosa by name for, quote, inspiring hope throughout the country. Mentioned that by following the rule of law, he has changed the country's constitution to make it possible to steal land from people because they are the wrong skin color.
Carlson went on to talk to a member of the conservative Washington think tank, the Cato Institute, on possible responses from the Trump administration.
Well, the first thing that needs to be made clear is to denounce the policy. The administration needs to make it very clear that it is both immoral, because it targets a specific group of people, and I thought we were beyond that. And secondly, that it would be economically destructive. So we need to make it very clear where we stand. Secondly, South African government needs to be aware that the law, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, under which South Africa trades with the United States, requires the President of the United States to expel countries from AGOA that do not respect property rights and due process.
Gaspard took to Twitter to denounce President Trump's tweet, accusing him of using the disproven racial myth of large-scale killings of farmers. Quote, "The man has never visited the continent and has no discernible Africa policy." Gaspard also says President Trump is using the South African land issue to distract from his criminal cabal, a reference clearly to the special counsel probe into Russian collusion that netted two high-profile Trump associates this week on bank and tax fraud, while the case of his former attorney, Michael Cohen, implicates the president himself in coordinating and directing Cohen's criminal conduct. Noting that the reportage on Fox News follows a visit to the United States by AfriForum earlier this year, in which its deputy CEO, Ernst Roots, was interviewed by the very same Tucker Carlson on his book, Kill the Boer, in which he argues about what he calls the government's complicity in farm murders. Sherman Brycepease, SABC News, New York.